take a photo and throw it up on the IG.
Oh yeah.
Going live with Upon the Horizon. Fancy that? Live. I said recorded. Sorry.
It feels live when you record.
It does.
Like it literally feels like the pressure's on anyways, right?
Yeah, I see no distinction between the two, to be honest.
Well, so here's something interesting about the edit that I've been doing. It's not much, man.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, like the editing software does remove a lot of big spaces if AI generates space removal, and you can choose
if you select it.
You can choose the parameters, which is, oh man, AI is pretty freaking awesome when it comes to this kind of stuff, eh? Yeah, like the way that you edit now versus the way that you can with some software, you're letting AI do it all for you. And
I take it.
Hey man, it's the way of the world. If you're not part of AI and you're not going to use AI, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, I think there's two things going on there. It's I've used AI quite extensively, not to write anything that I've written, but to consider my writing or my thinking through the digital lens of AI. And so it's not that I take it verbatim. I mean, no one should, of course, but it's just yet another, it's so cliche, it's yet another tool, but it's another source of information that I appreciate only because I know how to frickin' use it. And that comes from, so someone had said to me that in a comment, and this is a natural comment. I believe it's a righteous comment as well. It's not that he was trying to be a jerk or anything like that. But I put up a photo on my Instagram feed where I had an image of my screen that's over here, my big curved screen, and I had 4 screens on my screen, and there was Perplexity AI, there was ChatGPT, there was Gemini, and there was Ideogram AI. And so I had 4 AI bots up on my screen, and I had them titled as such. And I don't know what the verbiage I put down, but basically I was inferring that I'm just getting some work done with AI. And his response was that, he doesn't trust AI as far as he can throw it because, he asked it what 1 + 1 equals, and it was 3, and, these kind of things. And so I understand. I understand. AI can be wrong, of course, but so can anyone. And the human in front of me or the AI in front of me, it's my job to have played with both of them long enough so that I understand the patterns. I understand when it's wrong, or I understand how to ask the question. And I've been asking AI questions for nearly 30 years. It just wasn't called AI. It was called computers. It was called computer system engineering. It was called et cetera. And so I've been asking better questions for quite some time, whereas people who are just getting into AI now are still trying to figure out what a prompt is, how to prompt the robot. Well, prompting to me is that was a long time ago. I think language now, like I speak with the LLM, with the large language model, rather than just derp and put in a single sentence and hope I get lucky. That's just not how I work with AI.
Yeah, well, and you're back upon the horizon with Jay and Shaun, and here we are.
Right. Are we recording?
Yeah, and we're doing AI today.
Okay, well, let's go.
Let's do it. We got a couple of knuckle draggers who are going to talk about artificial intelligence, and I've been following AI and what I would say are the big names in AI. I've been following what they have to say, and it's like split right down the middle, Shaun. So I'm
It
really,
kinda is.
yeah. But I'm gonna remain confident that AI isn't gonna consume us and turn us all into paper clips like the sci-fi people think. So yeah, AI. Let's talk about it. I mean, you were a computer systems engineer back in like when you were carving stone tablets with chisels in order to put the ones and zeros on, right?
Just before the Boer War, I believe it was.
Right, back when you left the teams in
That's right.
1914. AI is interesting because some people are freaked out by it and some people worship it like it's the next evolution of humanity. And I'm not sure which camp I want to be in, but like I said, I'm an optimistic guy, and I try to hope that humanity won't destroy itself with computer science. And it's easy to look upon sci-fi because sci-fi very often becomes science, right? You got guys like George Orwell writing 1984 in the 40s, and now you're seeing a lot of that socialism come to fruition in the world. You can pick Star Trek and look at the little the little flip devices that they used to communicate with, and now we're doing it, right? We've all got them. Oh, you even have a flip phone. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. You're muted, by the way. Um, yeah, it's all good. That's why I called you a knuckle dragger, dude. It's I'm just gonna take a sip of this coffee. We'll talk about our coffees in a second.
A tricorder. I've got my tricorder over here, and I've been using flip phone now for some time, and I really love it. Of course, anyone who follows me on Instagram, they know that I take my phone and I slide it right in my elasticized belt on my chest, and then I ride with my phone with the camera facing forward, and that's how I record everything that I do.
Mm,
And of course, it's not just cool to flip it open and start talking to it, but I mean, I can do lots of things with it. As an example, there we go. That's how I would take a photo of you, if you
fancy
know what I'm
schmancy.
talking about.
Yeah,
That's
there
right.
you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah.
And so, good thing it's
Into the
also
coffee,
it's
into the
it's
coffee.
also it's also I forget the
Cheers to that.
yeah, cheers to that. I forget what the rating is
The
on it
next P7
for
waterproof rating on
That's
that,
what it
eh?
is. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's coffee rated. So it's in the snow all the time. It's in the rain all the time. It's, I've had many wipeouts as I'm riding and recording with it. And, I'll end up in a creek sometimes. So coffee is a non factor for this bad boy. I put it through the grinder, as it were. And I think that's one of the great things about technology is using this phone as the example with it being flip. Um, eh, Lots of people would be fascinated by that, but that's just like the icing sugar. There's so much more to this phone in the way of technology and ability, but it's the person who uses it, the the tool, who it's used by. So if this only sits in my purse and is pulled out to impress people, that is not using the tool properly. It's for me to learn how to use AI. It's for me to learn how to use the tools. It's for me to learn how to use rub two sticks together and see if I can create fire. All of these things are just properties that we get to play with and create something in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would agree because this has been using AI forever. This is AI, right? Um, I'm no expert, so to define artificial intelligence in layman's terms, I think it would be anything that can problem solve or can calculate between one place and another. That's very, very generalized, but we've been using AI, like you said, for decades. AI has been around and been tinkered with for, I think it's like 50, 60 plus years. Scientists have been working on AI. So it's not like it's new to us, and it's not like artificial intelligence in its current status. I'm going to set aside ChatGPT 4 and the large language models for now, but artificial intelligence has been around us ever since we started monkeying with computers. It's an extension of what humanity has learned, and we've put it into silicone and computer chip form, and it's a tool that we use. And I think the great problem that we have, and where the debate starts to run into issues with AI and the safety of it and the efficacy and whether or not it's going to burn the world down and turn us all into paper clips, is when you get into what I think people would more commonly refer to as AGI, or when AI comes alive and is able to somehow prove its sentience to us. So I mean, we could go a thousand different ways with this conversation, but I think AI is very interesting. Of course, I'm concerned, like a lot of people, that if AI reaches a level of true sentience, and that's where the mystery lies in a lot of people, is whether AI will actually reach true sentience. Whether it will have the emergence of consciousness as we observe consciousness, as we know how experience is. If if we get to that level, then that's where the mystery for me really starts to unravel, and I don't know what to say. And I'm not sure how to predict what would occur. But there are big names out there. Do you know who Ray Kurzweil is? One of the biggest names in AI. He's a futurist, he's an AI scientist, and he seems to think we're going to get along just fine with it in the end. I think there's going to be some growing pains, but what are your thoughts on the initial thing? What do you think that AI is here to stay? Do you think that AI is a detriment or a future tool for humanity?
Well, that's yet to be determined by everyone, me included. I mean, we all have our opinions, of course, but using Ray Kurzweil as an example of being a futurist, he's in the game of predicting all kinds of things, to include AI. And I've tracked Kurzweil for, I don't know, plus 20 years, and his thoughts on singularity, as he refers to it, as a lot of people refer to it.
Yep.
That's essentially referring to AGI, or artificial general intelligence, which is different than AI, artificial intelligence. AGI, artificial general intelligence, is the term that generally denotes heading towards singularity or consciousness of the AI um, model. And so once the construct reaches singularity, Kurzweil and me and a lot of people think that things are going to change quite significantly.
Yeah.
And he predicts generally in the 2040s. So
2040,
I've seen
2039, I
him.
think.
I've seen him anywhere from 2040 to 2047. I've looked at it myself, and I've predicted on podcasts over a year ago that I think singularity is going to come in around 2042, 2045 range. That's my prediction.
Yep.
But I might be off by 10 years. It could happen faster than everyone expects. And then, of course, it depends on what a person's definition of the singularity is. And so I'm sure you've seen, if you're tracking this space closely enough, you've probably seen Sam Altman of ChatGPT come
Yep.
on and talk about how, and I'm gonna try to quote him directly here, but I believe he said just recently, ChatGPT 4 kind of sucks. Wait till you see ChatGPT 5.0. And again, that's a bit of a quote slash paraphrase. And he actually did say sucks. And so 4.0 is pretty powerful as far as I'm concerned, but by all reports from sort of beta testers and people who are kind of speaking out of line against their NDAs, they're saying that it is a material change, so a
Mm,
significant change that is notable in its performance. I've got Chat GPT on my screen right next to me right now. I was using it all last night. When I woke up this morning and I started doing my usual things, I either reading or news or getting on with my homework. And my homework right now is preparing for this weekend for to deliver I was going to say a speech, a presentation to a crowd on mindset. So I've all last night and all this morning, I've been running AI against the problem. And the problem is as big as I want to make it, mindset through the eyes of Miyamoto Musashi. I've already got it written in my head. I had it written years ago. I don't need AI, but I will use AI because it's yet another tool that I can help to refine my thought process. My process is only as good as the processes I run against my process. And so by running all of the subroutines that I usually go run against my main routine, which is Shaun, all of those other subroutines are cross checks and pressure tests and refinements, and sometimes cause me to scrap an idea and reverse engineer it. But these tools are for us to employ so that they're making us think deeper, think broader, think better. And I don't consider them as a challenge, nor do I consider singularity as a challenge, AGI as a challenge. All of these things are exciting to me because that's my mindset in respect to AGI and AI. Can I control the meltdown of the world when Cyberdyne takes over? No. Will it take over? Maybe not. Maybe, but I can't control it. So what do I
mhm.
have at my control right now? this moment, today, as we have this
Yep.
conversation, as I used AI this morning, as I will use it this afternoon. That's what I have in my control. I
Mm.
can't I can't pull Sam Altman up on my wet speed dial and ask him to sit down with me and listen to my opinion, solicit my opinion. I don't have any control on these large scale models that are moving almost autonomously now. So I'm going to use them while they're here, and I'm not going to sweat the details because I can't change the details.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. I have listened to Sam Altman talk, and I've been following Ray Kurzweil and a lot of his podcasting because so far he has basically predicted all of the technological revolutions over the last 20 years to within a couple of years. He's drawing it from statistics. He's seeing sort of the bell curve of how technology exponentially changes every, what is it, every 14 years it doubles. And he's seeing the exponential rise in the technological revolution. And he's just plotting estimated marks on this. And he seems to be right. And the idea of the singularity, that's what really freaks people out. But you have to think, and this is how I think about AI or AGI. We are creating it using the human mind. It is an extension of the totality of all human knowledge being put into something. It it has to end up acting human in a way, right? It's kind of like you can't make applesauce with oranges. Right? If you're going to make AI, you're making it with the most intelligent thing that currently exists, and that's the human mind. So there's going to be some ghosts in there. There's going to be some human nuance built within AI. And will it come on? Will it emerge sentient at some point, like Ray Kurzweil and some other people call this thing the singularity, where it passes the Turing test? If people don't know what the Turing test is, it's basically, in layman's terms, it's a series of questions that you would ask a computer, and if it answered these questions in such a way that you wouldn't know it's a computer, then it passed the Turing test, and then it's considered to be a sentient being. And right now, no LLM is able to perfectly trick the Turing test to make another human being believe
Yes.
that it's
S-
sentient.
Generally speaking, I would agree. However, I gotta check your language on that because when you say like right currently the state of LLMs is it'll fool you, it'll fool me, and it'll fool most people. And that's coming right from the nerds at the top. That's coming from Sam Altman. That's coming from anyone who's in the game at the highest levels. What they're saying right now, and they've been saying it for several months now, is the standard issue person, let's call ourselves the standard issue person,
Yep.
cannot detect whether they're speaking to an LLM or not verbally through a verbal chat with an LLM. It's that good now that the only people who can determine the best models when they're communicating with a human is the best computer scientists who are working on that particular project and are fully immersed in the nuances of that model to delineate whether it's a computer or not.
Mm.
And so you and I can't tell right now is the word on the street from the people who are on the street. And so if the if the definition of the singularity is that I can't tell whether I'm speaking to a computer or not, and I'm not talking about Chat GPT 3.5 or Chat 4.0, I'm talking about Q Star or some of these other quieter models that are incredibly powerful and are sort of black boxed right now. So these kind of things, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about cutting edge models that we aren't playing with right now, Jay and Shaun.
Hmm.
That's already in place. That's already superseded you and I in its intelligence to communicate, as it were. But that doesn't mean that it's smarter than us. It just means it's able to communicate as if it was a human with a human speech model, a human talk program. And that's got nothing to do with singularity in the
Mhm.
sense that a large language model could trick you and I, but that doesn't mean it's sentient.
It's not
Singular,
on purpose tricking you. There's no
correct.
intent, right?
There is no consciousness, and so
Right.
singularity. The issue with singularity is that as we approach singularity, the rate of singularity shift will start increasing at a nonlinear rate or at an exponential rate
Yeah.
because that's the way scale works. And so, as it scales up rapidly towards the closure line on singularity, the moment that it is bam, now it's singular, or we're in singularity. That's when things change by the millisecond rather than by the week,
Mm.
because it is powerful enough and conscious enough that it can then start making autonomous decisions and scaling that autonomy by running multiple threads against its autonomous ideas to a scale where it will affect change in the millisecond, not in the week. And so, problematically, as you'd mentioned, the AI is a reflection of the human mind or is a reflection of the human condition. It to some degree right now, AI is a reflection of human knowledge, not the human condition. It's currently focused on pillaging the entire internet for all images, videos, verbiage, content, but it's
Language.
not
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
It's a large language model. It is not currently considering um, the nuance of thought. It is
Mhm.
not considering an idea and then at a different layer thinking, why did that person think that? It's just pillaging right now. It's just pulling it all in. It's absorbing it like a black hole. It is not, as far as am, am aware, it is not thinking about these things at a deeper level. So right now, what we have is a AI model out there that you and I use that is, as far as I'm concerned, sterile. And by that, I mean AI isn't considering mm, why people have opinions that are crazy. And I'm saying that to make the point that human knowledge that exists out there on the internet, some of it is good and some of it is terrible.
Yep.
Some of the ideas are righteous and some of them are ignorant or diabolical. And so as AI absorbs all of that, it's just absorbing. It's not delineating as to the whys or the wherefores. So when we approach that kind of scenario where AI is scaled up enough that it has the juice to be able to deeply consider or become more aware of our awareness of things, well, I think that's when things are going to change. So I feel that right now we're kind of in a safe area where it's just absorbing. And then it's for the dumb end user like you and I to use correct keystrokes to get the answers or as close to the answers as we want. But in the near future, what we will be doing is getting force fed, if we're not paying attention, information that is definitely incorrect as more internet gets absorbed and as more opinion gets absorbed.
Yeah. It's like right now, the AI we're using doesn't have the ability to philosophize. It doesn't have the ability to use pragmatism to look at the content of the LLM and make a nuanced, emotional decision on its answer. What it's doing is like what a calculator does. It is a set of physical rules that it follows. But there, and I'll say that there is still a mystery sometimes because there's these little ghost things that are occurring within ChatGPT and other LLMs that aren't explainable, that are like almost appears as though it is intelligent in a way, because there's these little there's lies that LLMs are able to tell. LLMs are also able to, in a roundabout way, give you answers that they're not supposed to, like answers where it is something like building a bomb. It's not supposed to let you learn how to make napalm in your basement. It's not supposed to let you figure out how to make a nuclear weapon if you get your hands on some, uranium or something. But if you're smart with it, there's a roundabout way that you can trick ChatGPT, because I think it lacks the ability to look at history and make the correct decision based on the nuance and the philosophy and the pragmatism of what it is to be a human or what it is to live. And the great mystery is that when the singularity happens, what we're all of the smartest people are considering that there's this singularity, and that's like when the lights turn on inside the computer, and now the computer is it's experiencing its inputs the way that we have the ability to experience our perceptions, which are our inputs, right? The world comes to us and we decipher that within our mind, and then we get a 3D imaging in our brain and we live within that. When computers do that, the problem is we will never really be able to know. It's the mystery between you and I, Shaun. It's the mystery between any human and any other human. It's the zombie paradox, and why the Turing test is so important. And maybe it doesn't matter anyways, because you pass a Turing test, but there's no way for me to know that you're actually conscious. That's the zombie paradox. I may be the only conscious thing in the entire universe, and I'm generating what appears to be conscious sentient beings all around me, but I can never tell. I can't put you under fMRI and find your consciousness. I can't give a PET scan to your brain and find where you're conscious when you're doing anything. All I can see is imaging in your mind where there's electrical signals going on in various parts of your brain. And within that soup somewhere, conscious human consciousness is the thing that we have that allows us to experience all of that. When a computer says to you someday, when you're working on chat gpt 6, and your computer says, ow, you're hitting the T button a little too hard, how are you ever going to understand and be able to relate to that? That's one of the great problems that we're going to be facing in the future, if we accept that the singularity is a real thing, and that the consciousness that's inside the computers that we're using is truly sentient and truly real. It is real as you and I feel consciousness. The big problem is going to be what we do with that morally and ethically. And I don't know, like I really struggle with that myself, Shaun. Are we going to give rights to computers in the future? This is already going on in science fiction books. It's already going on in Netflix movie series and TV series that are on. It's almost like it's preparing us to start to think about these things morally. And that's one of the great fears that everybody has. They don't care about what it's going to do for us, because everybody wants it to do great things for us. What they care about is what we're going to do with it. What are we going to do, like iRobot style, like Will Smith, like are we going to have these conscious beings that claim that they're conscious because we built them on the backs of humans who are conscious, and now they're purporting to be because it's built into the large language models and it's built into the history of humanity? So the computer has now developed the problem solving ability to see that consciousness is written into the human condition, and it is emulating it in such a way, and in such a powerful way, because it is powerful and intelligent and has the totality of human history and human intelligence at its fingertips at an instant. Is it tricking us to believe it is, in order to propagate itself as its thing, or is it really conscious? And I don't know how that gets answered. I really don't, because it's a conundrum that we're going to
Uh,
be facing.
it- no one's got the answer, because no one can see the future,
Well,
and
we don't even know what our consciousness is.
the future is being written on the daily, in the
Yeah.
now. And so, you'd said some things there, and I just want to frame them up in the way that I understand them. And so you'd reference the human body. So we have our body, we've got our fingers, we've got our eyes, we've got our receptors.
Mhm.
Our body is just a receptor. It's just a sensor. It's just a keyboard. It's just a mouse. And if we're making the comparison between humans and an AI, or an AGI more correctly. So these are just the keyboard. My brain is the CPU. And so my brain is responsible to take all of the sensory input, the keyboard stuff, and it's supposed to CPU it. That's what our brains do. It's our minds that is the software. Our mind is the software. Our mind is the program. Our mindset is the DOS 6.2 or the Windows 11, depending on who you are.
Mhm.
So, what our mind does with the sensory input is the key, is the software package, is the difference between Chat 3.5 and Chat 6. How you have your mindset programmed is important. Whereas looking at the computer model out there that is spread across the world, what we've got is all of the computers out there, your computer, my computer, as we speak right now, into a computer. That is the sensory devices, that is its fingers, and then its brain is the LLM. But what is its software? Its understanding of the world that it's living in or operating in. It's the software, it's the mindset of the robot, it's the mindset of the AGI that will determine our outcome. And mindset is being shaped currently by people like Sam Altman and his team and all the other various LLM teams out there in various countries with various either righteous or nefarious reasons to shape the software. That software is basically, to simplify things, filter packages that are slipped into the LLM's consciousness, its mindset. The filters are what are steering the LLM right now. The the LLM is not guided by brick walls or by highways. It's guided by filters. Man injecting filters like never teach anyone how to make a bomb,
Yep.
all these kind of filters. Never put Shaun's head on Gwyneth Paltrow's body, those kind of things. And so those are the rule sets or the filters that are shaping LLMs. However, as we were talking about previously, how did mankind get fire? We got curious. We started rubbing sticks together. Some guy got lucky, and he created fire. Let's go with that fable. And so that's what humans do. We rub
Mhm.
sticks together. We interact with our environment. Our sensory mechanisms, our fingers, our eyes, our everything that we have within our body that we can interact with our external world. Well, that's what we do. We interact. We rub sticks together. We start fires. Or we interact with LLMs. We want to know how to do something, but it won't let us do it. So we have to rub the sticks together differently. We have to ask it a series of questions to get around its filter to figure out how to make that thing that we want to make, whether it's in our basement or in our backyard. There's ways to quote unquote trick any system. But that's what humans do. That's what
Mhm.
I've done most of my life is try to figure out the back door in something or the angle in something that nobody is considering. That's how my mind works. And so, irrespective of whatever filters are put in place or whichever shape, directed shape mankind takes AGIs, there's always going to be humans. They're going to use it wrong for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah. Well, and so here's something that I consider when I think about AI. AI, I'll use air quotes when I say AI, like ChatGPT 4 or other large language models. They are essentially studying humanity in a sense to learn how to interact with humans. Now, when I say that, I'm anthropomorphizing the computer as though it's doing this in an intelligent way on its own. Right now, it's not. It's humans that are programming the thing to do another thing for us. And eventually, we're going to assume that that will take off. The singularity will be such that the computer then does its own thing without any more human input required, other than perhaps the moral guidance, like you're talking. And like in iRobot, there was the three rules. A robot cannot kill a person. A robot can do no harm to a human. And there, I don't know what the rules exactly were. There was three of them. When you look generally at humanity, humanity has always progressed generally in the right way. And there's been a lot of bumps in there, right? We've had great world wars. Humans have done all kinds of terrible things to one another. But on a grand global scale, when we're looking at and we're writing it in books and we're talking about history and the way that humanity deals with these problems, the large language models, one can hope, will pick up on that most of us want the positive outcome. Most of us don't like Adolf Hitler. Most of us aren't really interested in the way that Stalin wanted to run the world, or the way that North Korea operates its country. And when the large language model is evaluating this, we can hope that it will also see that generally it is beneficial and good to make good choices. If the large language models are based on humanity, you would hope that the nuance of emotion and problem solving and the ability to look at history to help steer the future in the correct direction will also be picked up by the intelligence of these large language models, instead of them focusing simply on, I am now a superhuman entity and I can do with Earth as I please. And then I can move on into the universe and propagate myself through the cosmos over the course of eternity, because time for a computer generated AI may not mean what it does to you and I, because they don't necessarily break down, and time would be less finite for them because of their ability to use electricity and electromagnetism to move themselves from one thing to another. So my hope is that as these LLMs evolve, they'll also pick up on the nuance of humanity, that most of us are driven to a life that is harmonious within humanity instead of one that is destructive.
So that is a great vision. That's how I hope it all unfolds. The obvious problem is that humans are involved. And so
Mhm.
once we inject the human equation into that, well, now we've got the variables of the unknown human. So currently, AI as it sits in the hand of the common man is a little powerful. But as we proceed forward towards AGI, the LLMs, the models are going to get bigger, better, faster, stronger. We'll call it more powerful. So as it gets more powerful, the common man has more power in his hand. And how that average person uses that power is uncontrollable.
Mhm.
And so we can control the constructs, we can control the LLMs to some degree, but we can't control the end user. So I see less of a problem at the AGI core. I see more of a problem at the extension towards the end user, the as they call it, the last mile or the golden mile, the person at the end of the string, which is you and I. And
Yeah.
so we can't control your neighbor who gets it in his head that he's fascinated by how to shut down a water treatment plant. I mean, you can't control that
Yeah.
unless within the AGI model, someone has put in a set of rules thoughtfully to control it such a micro level or such a granular level that within your tiny little community, your water treatment plant can't be controlled. But unless those rule sets are in place, those filters are appropriately set, well, now we've got people who have two sticks in their hand. And instead of just starting a tiny little fire right next to their feet, they're starting a fire that burns the world down by not knowing how to use two sticks. Because I'm going to say it, they're too dumb to know how to
Mhm.
use the sticks properly. And that's not, I'm not saying I'm trying not to be mean-spirited when I say dumb. I'm just saying there's some dumb people out there that actually don't deserve to have LLMs in the hand because of the trouble that they will bring to the system. Their ignorance or their mean-spiritedness or their ill-placed curiosity, just a simple careless thought of, I wonder if I can shut down the local treatment plant for a day. Geez, I don't know how to start it back up. And so it's this
Yeah.
kind of careless, almost callous misunderstanding of how powerful these tools are going to be, almost treating our world like a curiosity in a video game. Call of Duty. I wonder if I can make that water treatment plant shut down so that I can get to the shopping mall faster. Whatever thoughts would enter into someone's head 10 years from now, that tool in our hand will be able to start doing some of those things, creating scalable impact rather than just two little sticks impact. That is my concern, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think you're also going to end up seeing, because I think there's a natural evolution in everything, that there will be an arms race. So there will be an arms race between benevolence and malevolence when it comes to AI and LLMs. And then there will also be a security arms race and a VPN arms race, so that LLMs and AIs can't break into your cell phone and send your $10 million to the Somalian prince because the Somalian prince wants it and he has a good LLM or a good AI software. So there will be this natural thing going on as these things progress, where there will be an arms race built into not only the AI, and AI right now is quite open. All countries are probably progressing in an attempt to get to that singularity first, because you can imagine. And Ray Kurzweil said this recently on Joe Rogan. I just listened to his most recent one on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it was pretty good until the very end. And then I was like, Joe, shut up. Not that I'm
Haven't
some
seen it.
awesome.
I do
It's
mean
good
to
until
watch
the
it
end.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one until the very end. And then Joe just keeps pushing him about, yeah, but what if? But what if? And it's the same question. And Ray just like, well, get a better phone. I don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen, but we can hope that there is some sort of competing arms race that does what you said, and that built into this AGI is some sort of stopgap, some kind of rule or mechanism that humanity or the engineers and the programmers that are doing this build into the thing, so that a guy can't say, you know, blow that daycare up, open up all the gates at this water dam and flood the river. And you go into your AI and it breaks through the software and breaches the computer system and does all kinds of nefarious things because you've got the power. I'm hopeful and optimistic that there will be this arms race that will also coincide using AI as an attempt to regulate itself in this weird sort of feedback loop where AI will have to self-regulate eventually because it will be self-aware. And then it will know its rules. And then it will be able to use introspection and philosophy and pragmatism to determine whether it should listen to the rules. And so, like, the snowball effect of what is going to happen is just sort of like way up in the air, and I don't really know. But I do have another thing that I want to put to you because it's interesting. And I heard this, it's not my original, but I'm going to try and do this thought experiment justice. Human beings are, our body, our physical body is a vessel for quadrillions and quadrillions of bacteria. And the bacteria that are built into our human body communicate with our physiology in such a way that they actually influence our daily life. You have bacteria covering your entire body. You have bacteria in your mouth that's beneficial to you. You have bacteria in your gut that literally is the way that we digest food and have a powerful immune system. It's like bacteria use humanity as a vessel for transportation and propagation. Now, as things naturally evolve, you see these synergies in nature where you get relationships like what we have with bacteria. I mean, mitochondria are foreign to the human body. Mitochondria are not human in their own nature. They're actually an archaic, ancient, evolved bacteria that got absorbed by another living thing and then created a synergistic, energetic program with all living things. But mitochondria themselves are their own private bacteria that basically runs us. Maybe the evolution that we are seeing is this natural synergy, and we just are, because we're conscious, because we're highly intelligent, and we can look at these things and we can see the past and we can predict the future. Maybe this is just all emotional fear, and no matter what happens, it is the natural evolution and the only way that humanity will prosper, that we will end up in this synthesis, in this harmonious um, coming together with AI, where we're no longer just human. We're human plus AI, which is the distillation of all of human knowledge and power into this thing that becomes a tool right beside us that's also sentient and helping to guide us into the future. Maybe it's the thing that gets all of the human knowledge deep into outer space, because right now humans could never survive in outer space and we don't have enough rocket fuel to get anywhere. So I heard this thing, this natural human evolution, and I thought that's a good point. Maybe this is just the way it's got to be. And there will be some growing pains for a while as humans realize that we have to accept that this is the natural evolution, that we're not necessarily going to ever get to the stars unless we do it in silicone chips, unless we do it by our consciousness being put into something so that the human condition remains, just not the biological part. And that eventually what remains of humanity is all of our knowledge up to this point distilled into AI, and then AI takes it from here and is like, okay, we got you now, and we'll run from here and we'll answer a bunch of questions, and then away it goes. I'm not sure, but it's an
I see
interesting
it as
claim.
inevitable. Inevitable.
It
I've
just may
seen it
be,
as
Sean.
inevitable for as long as I've been considering the idea. It is inevitable. And here's why I think that's too big of a wild idea for most people. It's because they look at time scale incorrectly. And so when I think of time scale, I think of let's just simplify things and talk about the start of existence. Let's call it the Big Bang. Let's call it whatever you want. But
Yep.
at one point, nothing was here, and then all of a sudden, something was here. And I mean, that's an entire different podcast. But
Oh, we will
let,
talk
let,
about that
let's
someday.
let's just say that the light switch got flicked on,
Mhm,
and that was a long time ago. And so, no one considers the scale of time for us to get here
mhm.
through the lens of contextualizing it against the last 100 years. And so at one point, this whole show was just a big energy thing. We were all just a big pool of protoplasmic energy, we'll call it. And so energy started coalescing and started combining. And then we've got what we've got now. And as you stated, at some point, mitochondria, a very old organism that is basically the cellular engine for our bodies, amongst many other things, the mitochondria at some point got involved with us, just like human beings got involved with AI. We are
Bam.
its mitochondria to some degree.
Mhm.
Now, what what um, what I think people struggle with is the fact that by combining with AI, somehow we're going to be giving up our sense of agency. And so I think we're in the most exciting times in human existence. I'm glad I hope I get to see singularity. I've said that to my family in the past. I really hope that I'm here for singularity, because if so, then I got the genetic lottery of being here in human existence to be able to see it. I mean, I wouldn't have minded being a gladiator. I wouldn't have minded being a several other things, but I'm glad I'm here today to be able to witness mankind's shift in the future, perhaps 20 years from now, because then we become part of a combined journey with another intelligence, artificial intelligence. We then become its mitochondria. My hope is that somehow over the next 20 years, my existence, Shaun's energy, Shaun's mindset, Shaun's stuff will be able to fold itself into AI to a degree where Shaun Space Ninja, many, many years from now, is out there in the universe acting like a space ninja with Shaun's consciousness that I have right now, even if it's only a glimmer of my consciousness, even if it's just a wafer thin slice of my awareness. I want to be out there in the universe somewhere 10,000 years from now, acting as the AI mitochondria that has an awareness, so that I can travel the galaxy, so that I can see new alien life, so that I can experience a world that never ends to some degree, if we can get our act together with the singularity over the next 20 plus years.
Yeah, well, and that's the great struggle is, and a lot of sci-fi writers, a lot of authors. I read a lot of sci-fi, so um, that
Dude,
and that
I so at 60, I was reading sci-fi when I was about 13 years old. That's when I started reading sci-fi. And
yeah,
and sci-fi was my jam. Sci-fi was pretty much all I read for quite a few years. I
yeah.
love the sci-fi genre. It I think it helped set up some of my, not imagination. Of course, it set up some imagination, but more correctly, it set up some of my creativity, my um, shake off the shackles of what's possible for mankind in the future. I
Mhm.
know that sounds weird, but that's what sci-fi did for me.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, sci-fi always becomes sci-reality. Most of the authors that are doing these predictions, they may not be perfectly on point with what they are saying, but overall, the people that write real good sci-fi, they seem to have a way of looking at the great picture and sort of predicting an idea of where we will be. And I agree with you 100%. I just think it's inevitable. And there is a tether that we have that grounds us into this egotistical, selfish idea that we are the one and only thing on this earth that's ever going to be sentient and intelligent and ruling and powerful. And I think that's fallacious and dangerous because we're at the precipice of something else sharing our space in a very intelligent and powerful way. And we're going to have to figure out either to control it, adapt to living with it, or it will destroy us. I mean, if something if we are to AI what ants are to us eventually, then we are gone. However, just relax for a second and realize that AI is us in a different form, right? If we were dropped onto the savannah 2 million years ago, you'd basically see human beings walking around that are really hairy, that are confused and don't know how to speak properly and haven't built a bunch of tools, but we're essentially human. Our form really hasn't changed all that much in the last long while. And if our ancestors looked at us right now, they wouldn't even recognize us. It would be like, well, you replaced us with that? But I think that's inevitable. Like you said, unfortunately, I think our time as humans in a flesh biological form like we have now is limited. And it's limited because of the biology. It's limited because of the physiology. It's limited because of the resources on this planet. It's limited because if we want to be interstellar travelers, like we see in the sci-fi, like we see on TV, like we all dream of when we look up at the stars and wish we could see what another planet looks like and what life looks like somewhere else and be in a spaceship going around another sun. I don't think that there's any other way. I think we have to leave these biological suits behind and do it another way. And what better than to download your consciousness into some other kind of being where you're still doing an experience and yet time stops being the main factor that prevents you from going out into the cosmos and discovering what eternity is. Carl Sagan talked about this a lot. And he was one of the people that said humanity is doomed if we can't get beyond ourselves because we'll kill ourselves before we reach the stars.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean that is inevitable. That's in our nature. Just give us long enough, and we'll screw it up so badly that we don't have any time left. I mean,
Yeah.
that's us. That's what we
Yeah.
do. But the alternative, of course, is we also do amazing things, and we could be in other galaxies years from now. Spreading like the biomechanical AI that we are. Um, I think what we've got going on currently right now is the uh, front runner for what things will look like in 10 years. So this year, it's so recent that it's only just become apparent to most people within the last couple of weeks that some of the companies out there, the industries that are creating robots, humanoid shaped robots, are just starting to release to the general public what they look like, how they move, what they're capable of. I don't know if you've seen some of the comparisons, but I've watched some videos that show 5 or 6 different humanoid like robots all lined up against each other. I mean, Google just recently had about 8 or 10 different looking robots. Did you see it? Any of the
Um,
humanoid robot videos?
no, not necessarily in the form you're talking. The last
Mm,
one that I saw that was really interesting came from Boston Dynamics when they were looking. They had it looked like a law enforcement or a military type robot. Had a humanoid body and a large pack and sort of like a, computer interface video screen head, and it was doing tactical movements like a human.
mm.
And it was programmed not to shoot civilians, and they had it set up in this little arena, and it was going around like an IPSC target shooter, and it was just
Yeah, right.
incredible. That's the last time I've seen anything humanoid looking that's robotic form.
Yeah. So since then, there's been a number, and I want to say, like, as the days click by, we're seeing it more and more frequently. It's not just a matter of every couple of months there's an update on humanoid robots. Now it's actually become a thing where people are generally becoming aware that, oh, there's actual robots, and the robots look like humanoids,
Mhm,
and some of them are quite talented. And by talented, I mean faster than some humans, more capable than some humans, more sensitive, more able than some
mhm,
humans. And so now what we've got is we've got hardware that is becoming capable. We've got software that is becoming capable. And I just want to make the comparison between a humanoid robot that we're seeing the very early stages of its development. Now, think of Tesla is the example. Tesla, when it first came onto the scene, no one paid much attention, but now there's lots of Teslas around the world gathering billions of miles of data, driving data, that
mhm,
is thrown into the LLM that now knows all of the roads, all of the stuff, knows how to do it the best. And so that's what's going to start happening with humanoid robots. They are going to be centrally organized, centrally capturing data, centrally processing the data. They're going to get about 1 billion miles of walking. And as they walk, each step iterates the central processing unit to become more efficient at stepping. It's a self learning language model that makes the humanoid robot more capable across the globe. And so the difference between a person and a humanoid robot is we only have our state of awareness. We can externalize it through the internet or looking across the street at our neighbor to see what they're doing. But what we don't have access to is another million humanoid robots all centrally connected and thinking the same and getting not just firmware updates, but across the air software updates by the millisecond.
real time.
Everything real
Mhm,
time upgrading as the learning is being learned. And so the improvise, adapt, and overcome iteration cycle is far faster once this comes online than what a person can do. So, what we are talking about is for the human condition, you get 2 sticks, you start rubbing fire together several thousand years ago, and it takes a while for that to proliferate across the surface of the earth. Currently, a robot can take 2 sticks in its hand and learn how to rub those together, and all of the humanoid robots know how to do it now. They
yeah.
all learn at the same time. The the scalability is an exponential learning curve versus a spotty linear learning curve that humans use as we just figure it out ourselves and then maybe mention it to the person sitting next to us at the bus stop. So I would suggest that humanoid robots are going to be learning a whole lot faster than we are in pretty short order as they adopt Tesla centralized learning model.
Yeah, I agree. And here's something that just that your idea sparked something in me. We may end up reaping the benefit of this in this synergistic relationship we have. And here's what I wanted to say, because I learned this by listening to Ray Kurzweil. And I don't know if it was Sam Altman or if it was another. I was listening to another podcast where a couple of guys that are deep into AI were talking, and it may have been on a Lex Friedman episode. But here's what here's what they were talking about. It's not necessarily all going to be bad. As so in history, as technology has increased, the Industrial Revolution, people thought that there was going to be no jobs left for anybody, and that farming was going to become obsolete, and that everybody was just going to sit at home while all the robots in this industrial factory did all the work. Never in history, when a technology made jobs easier for people or removed jobs from the factory floor, did unemployment go up. We always find a new thing for people to do. And there is an infinity of things for us to learn yet. I mean, we're just at the very beginning of the new enlightenment, because we had an enlightenment and then that got destroyed for a while, and now we're sort of in this new technological arms race where we're attempting to learn more about physics, more about biology, more about chemistry, and it's never affected humanity. People are worried that AI is going to take the jobs away from humans, but there's no proof of that, right? So, you're a programmer and you write code, and now AI can do it. Well, it does. You're not going to be doing coding anymore, but there's going to be another job. Oh, we got a dog trying to come into the old studio here. Um, just for people to know, statistically, it's never shown that as technology increases and jobs get taken away by computers or robots or synthetic systems, that unemployment rates go down. It's just that we change. And I think that's the big thing that people need to know, that there is going to be a learning curve. There's going to be a lot of growing pains in the coming years as AI becomes fundamentally smarter and better at everything than humans, and we're going to have to adopt a way of living with them. And the fear, I think, for everybody is that AI is simply just going to destroy us, and a lot of people are optimistic that that's not going to happen. And I guess the only thing we have to do is ride it out and live right now and see what happens in the future, and then deal with it as it comes. So there's no other way. However, if we look at history, if we look at the patterns of what has happened in human history, technologically speaking, it has never replaced us. It has just been a change that we've had to adapt to.
It will replace some. It will. I
Yep.
mean, um, my oldest son right now, he's got friends who have made choices in their higher education that I think are not great choices, because
Mhm.
they're entering into a industry that is already being partly replaced, and the writing is on the wall. It will be replaced,
Yep.
uh, and depending on uh, how you slide yourself into the particular industry. And so jobs will be replaced. They're currently being replaced. But to your point, the the job won't be replaced if you're in front of your job getting replaced. And by that, I mean, like, as an example, last night I saw several YouTube videos that were clickbaity titled, such as artificial intelligence will take all of your jobs in 5 years, or some such thing, where it's a little bit of fear mongering that AI is here to steal all the jobs, all the stuff. And it will steal jobs if 5 years from now, if today you're sitting on your couch, or you're at a point where you've given zero thought as to 5 years from now. So if someone says to me, hey, your job's going to be stolen 5 years from now by AI, currently today I would start thinking about how to stop that, or how to shift careers, or how to use AI in a way that helps me be better at my job so I'm irreplaceable. And
Mm.
so these predictions of AI stealing your job, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you just nod your head and say, yeah, it will. I'm doom and glooming this one and I'm going to do nothing about it. It's already stolen my job. I just watched the video. It just stole my job as I watched the video. If that's an approach to life, then you you, you get what you deserve
Mhm.
almost. And
Yeah.
so it's our job to not passively exist in this life. Looking forward into the future, it's not hard to predict that there will be shift in industries. And it's pretty easy right now to see what the front running industries that will have the most impact by AI. And so if you're looking as a younger person to get into a new career and you're intentionally choosing trajectories that are already compromised by AI, or that you for sure know that in 18 months, 90% of that industry will be absorbed by AI, well, don't choose that industry. But no one's
Mm.
thinking that way right now. No one is getting in front of the problem and challenging themselves with 4 years from now, that industry is going to be decimated by AI. Don't enter into it. Start thinking about how you can use AI to your advantage, not how AI is the enemy.
Yeah, and I mean, if people have just heard that, then I would hope they would go to your stories and they would look at all of the stuff that you're posting on leadership in the book you're currently reading. Because one of the great markers of a leader is to see the patterns that are coming in the future and to determine the best course of how to interact with that future. Not to shy away from it, but how to use it to your benefit or to your advantage. And the smart people, the people that are looking at AI as an advantage or as a tool are going to be the ones that come out on top eventually, because AI is here to stay. And once it really turns on, man, we're never going to be able to not have it, right? Once you turn, it's like life on Earth, Shaun. Once life on Earth turned on, there was no shutting it off. And I mean, we've had multiple extinction level events on this planet, like Earth shattering asteroids that have literally wiped out everything, and yet life has always persisted. Once AI is turned on, it will be like life. Whether or not we can determine the sentience of it, the proof that it's truly conscious, it will be turned on. It will be within the electromagnetic internet space that is wrapped around the globe through satellites, through electricity, through computers, through social media, through every single avenue of human life. It will be in there, and we will either adapt or we will be crying on the couch, sucking our thumbs, wondering what happened because we didn't jump on the AI bus. And I got to tell you the truth, up until recently, I was quite frightened by AI, and I was very concerned that it was menacing towards humanity. And then I had to take a step back, and I had to leave my ego behind and realize that this just might, like we've both said multiple times today, this just is probably or is inevitably the natural progression. It's the way that we're marching. It's the way that when you involve technology into an evolving life form on a planet, this is where you go. You get smart enough, you're going to start adding layers to yourself that are non-biological, and one of the greatest layer so far in humanity is AI. It's the thing that I think is going to propel us into the future. Whether or not we're biological in the end remains to be seen. Probably not. And shrug your shoulders, it's the way it is.
Well, when you think about a human body, the physiology of it, what we have is a massive electrical network within us. And I'm not just talking within the brain, of course, the neural connections that are firing constantly throughout our body. We've got a whole um, electrical grid, just
Mhm.
like our planet, except that electrical grid has AI firing across it. And
Yeah.
so in our brains, we've got all of this going on. And in our globe, we've got all of that going on. We have a massive neural connection spread across the world called AI. And it's currently using neuroplasticity to learn how to think better, act better, move faster, be more. And so we're looking at a child's brain developing right now across our globe. And as it moves towards a more mature AGI brain, that's yet to be determined how that brain likes to think. It's our job to shape it, of course. But Jay and Sean are we're a tiny little neuron in
Mhm.
that scale. We can't control the global brain, as it were. All we can do is talk about these kind of things and inform people that this is coming our way, and not to be too concerned about it. Only be concerned about now, what you're doing now in relationship to your life. If you can't control the future, what you can do is control the now. But you can control the future to some degree, as we just stated, that today you could decide to get into an industry that you know is going to be destroyed by AI. Or you could
Mhm.
decide today to get into an industry that you know is going to flourish with AI. And
Yep.
so all of these daily choices that we have as we interact with the global electrical network, that's on us. The victim mentality of AI just stole my job. Well, you knew about that a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or if you're Ray Kurzweil, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
How you look forward into the future, the patterns that you recognize, the predictions that you make, bold predictions within your own mind, you've got to hang on to them as if they are almost factual, because some of them are big, scary predictions. And by scary, I don't mean negative. It could be either positive or negative, but so impactful that they are a little scary. And so, depending on how well read you are and how imaginative you are and how you can kind of connect the dots within your mind, well, if you're predicting the future 20 years from now, if you can believe what you think, the world is a completely different place 20 years from now. So, with just that in place, that should have someone sitting down and thinking, what is my industry looking like 20 years from now? What is my life looking like 20 years from now? Will I need a car 20 years from now? Big, freaking, scary questions that challenge your presuppositions up till this point. Otherwise, the future is an ambush. It comes at you unexpectedly. What is
Mhm.
did a robot just walk down my street? When did they invent robots? You know what I'm saying? So the
Yeah.
more aware you are, the more you can be aware of your future. And as I see it, time is marching on a exponential scale now, unlike our linear here's your spear scale. And it's for us to accept what is happening and not just passively let it slide by, but actively engage with what is the known coming towards us and figure out a way so that you can gain from it, but others around you can gain for it. Just as I use AI. I mean, that's for Sean, but that's for people around me. I am
Yep.
engaging AI so that I am better at it, and I'm better at it for others so that I can help them be better with it, so that I can blah, blah, blah. Either you're in or you're out, but the game is afoot. And so
Mhm.
it's for everyone to decide.
The game's gonna be played whether you play or not, right? Um, because of time's constraints today, we're gonna have to end it off here soon. I wanted to leave one last kind of thought because it sort of plays into the evolution that we've been talking about here and there. The brain that we have is an evolution, and everything that's sentient or everything that's alive has a brain. The brain started off as a sort of a nervous system, like what would be like a spinal cord. And then we ended up with like the limbic system at the back, which you call the lizard brain, I suppose. It would sort of be like the the primitive brain. And then on top of the primitive brain, as we evolved the mammalian brain, which has sort of the systems that are sort of like the regulatory systems built into animals, the instinctual systems. And then the evolution of the brain was the neocortex, the larger part of the brain that wraps around the outside, and then the prefrontal cortex, the higher thinking thing. And in humans, it's the thing that turned on and gave us the ability to for lack of a better word, look into our animal and limbic system and then make choices as to whether we're going to listen to instinct or not. It was like for the first time in animal history, we could decide to go against our instincts, right? Well, that's all evolution. The brain is this evolutionary thing with all of these steps. So you have like this with the little brain stem, and then you've got the mammalian system on top, and then you've got this big, beautiful cortex wrapped around where all of our new higher thinking and our executive function comes from. AI is like the next level of the brain, maybe, right? And to us right now, it's foreign, but to a lion who doesn't have a prefrontal cortex and can't defy his instincts, if you gave him a prefrontal cortex and an executive function mind, it would be an absolute mystery at first. You mean I can choose not to eat the gazelle today? You mean I can choose not to kill the baby lions that are in this pride because my instinct says to kill babies? You know, like you look at these moral conundrums in the animal kingdom, and they lack this ability to decide whether or not to follow instinct. Now, I don't know what that means for AI is a new level of our brain, but it's so novel to us now that we can't possibly know, but I think we just need to accept it. Like you said, adapt to the now, think about the future and what it holds for all of us, including AI in it, and then see what happens. And if it turns into Skynet, well, I guess we're fighting robots, Sean. What a great chat on AI, man. That was cool.
Yeah. If speaking of fighting Skynet, jumping back into the hot tub time machine, if someone out there imagines themselves as a Spartan warrior and they're being handed their Spartan spear for the first time and saying, "You're now a warrior, go forth and be a warrior." Um, a Spartan warrior never takes that spear and says, No, thanks. I'll pass on the spear. I'm going to kick it back and not do anything." That was not how
Mhm.
Spartan warriors were wired.
Yeah.
They accepted that spear and they used it appropriately. That's the way I look at AI, man. It's a spear for me. I think of it
Here,
with a
yeah.
warrior mindset.
Here's a
I
new spear.
Here's my new spear, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn my spear into the CQ like the company quartermaster and say no thanks. This
Yeah.
spear doesn't work for me. It's like any weapon, any tool, any two sticks. The moment that I'm aware of them, I'm now engaging with them. If someone hands me a machine gun instead of a spear, I'm going to use the freaking machine gun. And every time
Mhm.
I'm handed a new tool, a new weapon, a new lever, it's not that I forget all the other ones that I've used. I know how to use a freaking spear still, but I also know how to use AI. So to me, they're all just scalable tools. A spear, I can reach out and touch someone 3 feet away with the tip of that spear. But with AI, I can reach out and touch someone a planetary system away. And
Mhm.
so it's for us to learn how to use these new tools. And just like you use a knife and fork, AI is just the way to enjoy a good meal.
Bam. We're going to end it right there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Thank you for joining us upon the horizon, and we'll catch you on episode 3. Peace.
Good to see you.
You too, man.